This YCN segment is brought to you by Echo Communications, a digitally integrated commercial printer.
Welcome in YCN Sports Talk. Jeremy Stout, Dustin Ribellini, and we are out of the studio today on location at Salt Hill in West Lebanon. And Dustin, Salt Hill, they obviously have a great selection of beer. They have 5 locations throughout Newport, New Hampshire. They have Sunapee, New Hampshire, West Lebanon, where we are, Lebanon, and Hanover. So 5 great locations. St. Patrick's Day is coming up, obviously, this week. Big celebration. We'll have a lot to get to about that. And Dustin, this is a second time we've been on location, first time here. Pretty good little setup.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jeremy. It's really nice to be here in the Upper Valley on location with some people, faces we know, we see, talking sports with you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, glad you could be here, and we'll get right into the sports. We'll get to all the promotions later on in the show, but this first segment we'll talk, obviously, the bracket released earlier and the NCAA championship in swing. The big games are starting on Thursday. First, before we get into the nitty-gritty and the brackets and the breakdown, any big surprises? Obviously, there's surprises every year. Anything that stands out, 1 or 2 teams in, out, or underseeded, overseeded, what do you think?
Yeah, there's always a couple teams that have a gripe this time of year, whether they deserve to be in, maybe this team shouldn't have been in. The biggest team to me was Oklahoma State. They beat Kansas, who's the number 1 seed, twice, Oklahoma twice, who got in, West Virginia, who's a high seed in the tournament, they beat them as well. And then you have a team like Oklahoma who lost 11 of their last 15 games and is not in the tournament. So you wonder what kind of message is that, putting a team in that's stumbling down the stretch as opposed to a team that has some marquee wins all season.
And one team that a lot of people talked about were Syracuse, a team that nobody really thought they were going to get in. They had a chance maybe if they beat North Carolina to kind of set themselves up. But even without beating North Carolina in the conference tournament, they still got in. That seems like a team that, once again, we're going back to the bubble team, and the big teams in the Power 5 conferences always get the benefit of the doubt, fair or unfair.
Yeah, it seems like every year that it seems like Syracuse is always on the bubble, but you always see the bigger conference teams get in as opposed to the middle conference teams, which I'm okay with because they play better teams.
Right.
The objective of the NCAA Tournament Committee is to put the 68 best teams into the NCAA Tournament. If you win your conference, you're one of the best. If you're in that power conference, you get better chances to test yourself against better teams. I know it's unfair for the small conference teams like Middle Tennessee State who can't play Duke, North Carolina, Arizona, teams like that. But that's just the way it is. These teams that maybe they have 10 or 11 losses, they're playing much better teams.
Right. So talking about the much better teams, the number 1 seeds, is there one number 1 seed that has an easier path or a tougher path to the Final Four? Obviously, upsets are going to happen. But which one sticks out as you as maybe the easiest to the finals?
If I had to pick one team, I'd say probably Villanova has the easiest run. I don't see many challenges from them in the first couple games. And Purdue is the 2 seed. I'm not high on the Big Ten. I think the Big Ten's a little overrated, so I don't think Purdue's as good as their seed shows. I think the toughest 1 seed is probably the number 1 overall seed, Virginia. I mean, they get Arizona as the 4 seed, who's playing better than a lot of teams in the country right now. And another team playing well is Kentucky, and they're the 5 seed. So they're the number 1 overall seed. Probably got the toughest 4 and 5 seeds that they might have to play in the third round is what it will be.
And even if they do get far, I think Cincinnati might be one of the better number 2 seeds. Obviously, you have UNC and Duke plus Cincinnati, and then the aforementioned Big Ten participant Purdue. So I think I agree with you. Villanova with kind of the easier one. Virginia, maybe a tough draw. Xavier, tough draw, but probably because they are the worst number 1 team.
Right, I would agree with that. I think Xavier is probably the weakest of the number 1 seeds, and it shows in their draw with UNC, Michigan, and Gonzaga, 2 through 4. Those are all 3 Final Four caliber teams.
All right, so it's wide open. You hear it this time of year. How wide open is it really? You know, I know you look at a number 10 or 11 seed, maybe they can win a couple games, but when it comes down to it, it's probably 8 or 10 teams who can win this thing.
I think there's 10. I think the 1 and 2 seeds, and I think the 2-3 seeds will be Michigan and Michigan State. I think those are the 10 teams. The national championship will come out of one of those 10 teams.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. It's fun, you pick the upsets, and I'm sure everyone's going to be doing the brackets and trying to get that upset. But when you start going down it's really nobody below 4, I don't think, in any given year. And then especially this year, people are saying, there's no clear-cut favorite. It's all wide open. But when you start getting down to the nitty-gritty, it's hard to put a team in. Even who's ranked number 5. I'm just trying to pick out a number 5 team. Even a Kentucky, they're a good team, but they certainly have their flaws. No question about it.
Right. No, that's no doubt about it. All these teams have flaws, but I think when you look at the number 1 and 2 seeds, they're very, very strong. I would be surprised to see a lot of those teams playing deep into the tournament.
All right, so that's going to do it for our first overall look at the bracket. When we come back, we'll break down the South and the West regions. We're here at Salt Hill Pub in West Lebanon. We'll be right back. You're watching YCN Sports Talk.